It's a very interesting and very special program today for a variety of reasons, some actually positive and some not. However, as many of the Cult of Cornette followers may know that follow me on Twitter at the Jim Cornette, and also my lovely and talented co-host Alice Radley at Alice Radley, over the past few days, she's been hospitalized. She's feeling puny, as Christine Jarrett used to say. From her stomach ailment, she was diagnosed with a hiatal hernia, which I think has something to do with your hiatal taking a hiatus. I don't know. I don't want to alarm people. She's not clinging to death's door. Let's not get any rumors started. But she's been on the clear liquid diet, which to me is next to death. And she's been in the hospital for a couple of days having things done. So I will leave the explanation to her doctors. I'm sure we will interview them when the process is over. But in the meantime, everybody can get on Twitter at Alice Radley and say, "Get well, Alice." And now, obviously, thinking in a professional capacity, we need a co-host for the program. Well, maybe not. I thought I might soldier on alone this week. But then I got a letter from Court Bauer, the owner, the major domo, the capo di tutti capi of MLW. And I want to read it to you because it affects today's program. He says, "JC, I was sad to hear about Alice's unfortunate hospitalization. However, after investigating, I was somewhat relieved as since she now works for you, it will not cost MLW any money for medical bills." No, that must be a misprint. It goes on to say, however, he continues, "Since you were in need of a co-host for this week's show and MLW likes to give the fans entertaining programming that creates talk and publicity, I've taken the liberty of securing you a special guest co-host," this is what he said, folks, "to fill in for Alice, the man who has gotten more publicity than anyone, including you, Jim, on the Jim Cornette Experience, Kenny Starmaker Bolin, who now, by order of Court Bauer, the owner of MLW, is joining me this week to take Alice's place on the Jim Cornette Experience. Mr. Bolin, welcome to the program."
Well, boy, aren't you sounding awful polite today? Because I recall making a few calls this week after the outrageous success of the show last week. I tried to get in touch with you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Nothing. Hey, Jim, what do you think? What do you think you put me on? I hear Alice is under the weather. Nothing.
It was
never heard.
Weekend. I was not going to take time out of my only weekend off nevertheless.
Hey, it was Derby week for me too. I had Derby parties going on. I was at 2, 3, or 4 of them. I was down there at the Barnstable get together. I was an invited guest. I rubbed elbows with Jamie Foxx. I was making time for you, but you weren't making a second for me. Mainly because I was calling you and say, "Hey, Jim, I hear your little buddy's under the weather. I hear she might not pull through. I hear we need a co-host for the show."
Now, don't say that, for heaven's sake.
I'm just telling you the things I'm hearing. And so you wouldn't return my call, so I made a little call to Mr. Bauer and told him of my success, which he already knew. He'd already read all the tweets. He already knew all the buzz.
Wait a minute.
And I said, "Do what you got to do."
Just stop it for just a minute. Tell the people what you're referring to. The few that may not know is, for some reason, after last week's program here on The Experience, the Twitter blew up, the tweets blew up, the downloads blew up or down, whichever way downloads blow.
Whatever.
You got more publicity and more notoriety, and the rating shot through the roof on your ridiculous appearance last week, where you sullied the reputation of my program with your off-color and ridiculous views of anything that we were trying to talk about.
Aren't you
for it as all promoters do? He has fallen for this wave of cheap publicity, this cheap heat that you've gotten out in the podcasting world.
Jesus, you're killing me. You mean to tell you're a very political man, Jimmy. You're very, which is why I was on your show last week, because you just knew that you was going to suck me in and have me agree with all that crap you were putting out, and I even dared you to have a vote. Towards the end of your show, let your people vote, not mine, not my Facebook followers, your Twitter followers, make a vote. And that was the worst thing you ever agreed to, because the numbers I'm hearing were 93% of your own fans sided with me.
Wait a minute. This is not a goddamn, Marist poll. This is not NBC News projected. No, there's no scientific quantification of the Twitter followers that you got to deluge MLW with praise of you. I don't even know if all of them are real human beings, but nevertheless.
You're crapping all over your fan base. I'm not the Twitter guy. You are. I'm Facebook, Jimmy. You're Mr. Twitter with your nearly 100,000 followers. And just about every single, you say it's no NBC Marist poll. Of course not. This is simple mathematics. 93% agreed with me. 7% agreed with you, which I have to question those 7%. I truly do.
All right, tap. You're the co-host of the program today, Mr. Bolin, and
might be the host.
As such, no, you're the co-host. You are the co-host today.
Shared duties.
We're going to do the show as we were going to, as normal, with the topics that we had planned, and I want to see if you can add anything pertinent to the situation here today.
Well, first of all, I got news for you. No, I got news for you. We're not going to do the show as we planned, because normally the way you do the show is that you sit there and spout off all these outrageous views and opinions that you have, and your little Robin Quivers wannabe sits there and blows you and agrees with everything you say. That will not happen today.
Well,
now go ahead. Now, if you're right, I'll agree with you.
We can do a 12-minute show, because I call the time of death on this thing also, and I'll just cut you off and disappoint.
And that might be the last show you ever do. I dare you. I freaking dare you. I dare you to end this show in 12 minutes.
Oh my God! I dare you to end a sentence.
Court Ballard will be in your lap in about 30 seconds if you're that stupid. But go ahead.
Over the last few weeks, we've had guests like the Honky Tonk Man, and we've also had Dr. Tom Pritchard talked a lot of wrestling. But we didn't
blow them out of the water.
We didn't get to the viewer mail. We didn't get to the fan questions, the cult of Cornette followers. Last week, of course, we had a special program until the last 20 minutes when you hijacked it, and we didn't get to the
hijacked it. Oh, you called me.
No,
you called me. I didn't hijack shit.
Cornette followers. We didn't get to that, so that's what we're doing today is viewer mail. And I would also like. Have you ever been to St. Louis? St. Louis, one of the great wrestling cities in the country.
Been there a couple times, yeah. Saw the Golden Arches.
I would like to announce that I know I told everybody that I wasn't leaving the state of Kentucky all summer because I'm working on my books and I have work done here at the castle. But then my old friend Larry Matizik from St. Louis called me. And so I may be going back on that once on this coming Saturday, May 7th, or next Saturday, May 17th. Oh, what, you say that every time, Uncle Huck.
Jimmy going back on his word. There's a new one, but go ahead.
Say that every time, Uncle Huck. But Saturday, May 17th, for Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling in East Carondelet, Illinois, which is a suburb of St. Louis, like New Albany, Indiana. For you, you're geographically challenged.
There you go. Is that a gratis visit, or are you getting a big payday out of this? Let me guess.
I'm going for the 55th anniversary of Wrestling at the Chase's first event in St. Louis, and Larry Madison.
You're going for the $5,500 payday. Don't lie to me, but go ahead.
I'm talking about a friend of mine. More than I can say for you, Larry Matizik, who was Sam Muchnick's right-hand man in the St. Louis promotion for years.
He was a big fan of Sam Muchnick, wasn't you?
So was everybody else, who I actually have emailed with and talked to on the phone many times, have never met in all these years. We've got a combined 80 years in wrestling, so I'm going to that event in East Carondelet, Illinois, Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling. You can go to my website, jimcornette.com, and click on events and appearances. There's a number where you can get tickets and information. But it's Wrestling at the Chase's 55th anniversary, and Larry Matizik is going to be there, and Flash Flanagan is going to be there also. Somebody that you tried to bilk out of money at one point in OVW.
I offered you. He's one of the few that never signed with me.
I don't even care about the story.
No, I'm just saying he's one of the few that never ever signed a deal. And did he make it to a full-time status in the WWE? No, he didn't. But that's another day.
Weekend. Imagine that. A holiday weekend coming up this month. I'll be at the Kentucky Flea Market, the big Memorial Day weekend spectacular out at the State Fairgrounds, the south wing of the Expo Center, thanks to Brian Baines and the folks at Stewart Promotions. For information on the biggest flea market in the state of Kentucky, you can go to stewartpromotions.com. I'm going to be signing my newest book, Rags, Paper, and Pins, The Merchandising of Memphis Wrestling, and also have a wide variety of pro wrestling memorabilia and paper collectibles. And I do not have room for you to set up and try to sell your bootleg merchandise, Mr. Bolin. I'm going to be running a reputable establishment, at the Kentucky Flea Market at the Fairgrounds Memorial Day weekend.
Sounds like another huge payday for you, but I tell you what, if things move a little slow out there, I do have these things called Beats by Bolin headphones and my new DNAs that are very popular. The DNA headphones are in.
DNA has never been popular.
Oh, it is now, believe me. It is now. Dinosaurs don't have the value that I pack these days, but I tell you what, if you have a little trouble out there and the merch ain't going, I'll come out there and I tell you what, maybe they buy enough of your stuff, I'll slide them over a free set of those Beats by Bolin headphones, and you can reimburse me out of your huge payday. How's that sound to you?
You're selling these things on the internet currently, aren't you?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just go ahead and get it out of the way. Where can people buy your ridiculously overpriced headphones?
Overpriced? Hey, the other version of Beats, the BEATS, sell from anywhere from $200 to $500 a pair. I have a special.
Yes, right. Beats by Bolin.
Yeah, they're totally different, but look similar. And I have an exclusive deal with a distributor in China, and he's a big fan of mine, and he loves the fact that I sell the headphones that he creates for me. And I have a special deal with him, and if I purchase X amount, he gives me a
certain... I've asked you what time it was, not how to build the watch. The point is, you've got the Beats by Bolin are on sale on the internet at
Facebook. Facebook, that's plain and simple. Facebook, / Star Maker Bolin. Facebook. Go there.
Backslash. We can't leave the backslash.
Yeah, you got to have the backslash in there. Go to my wall. All the details, prices, pictures, everything you need to know. You can get my T-shirts there, the headphones, the mouse pads, the ink pens, the party hats. They're all there.
And I'll be in London, Kentucky on June 7th at the Optimist Club for my friend John Bullard down at Pro Wrestling Freedom, doing a book signing at 6 p.m. before the matches that night for the PWF guys. That's the London Optimist Club on Saturday night, June 7th. And you can follow us, like we said, on Twitter, at StarMaker Bolin is yours. Don't forget to avail yourself of the MLW VIP memberships, where we've established a Bolin free zone there. So if $15 a year and nobody has
that's doomed to fail if you don't get me on there soon. You ain't gonna have a fighting chance. But go ahead.
And also, I'd like to let the folks know that A Corny in the UK, the documentary that the Alex Shane and the Wrestle Talk TV folks are doing of my trip this past winter to the United Kingdom and 2 weeks there. The rough cut footage is looking great. I had a nice talk with Alex a few days ago. They have a busy bunch of beavers working on the editing. There was so much footage, but all the rough cuts I'm seeing look great. The director's cut extended stuff, I think it will be cooler than I ever thought, and it just harkens me back to a time where there was 2 weeks of my life, Kenny, without you in it.
Ironic that you would be in London, England, and then come over here and go push your merchandise in London, Kentucky. Just seems kind of strange to me. Yeah.
And why do you say go and push my merchandise? I'm doing a personal appearance for the fine folks at PWF.
Didn't you say you was going to be selling your book while you're there and your merchandise? Didn't you say
I'm going
that?
I'm going to be signing my books. Many fine authors.
What about your Cornette-faced headphones? You going to be moving those while you're there?
No, I'm ashamed to show those. These.
Do you know how many that I've sold? How many do you think you would sell?
You gave me these cheap ass looking things, and
you better shut your mouth. Now you're burying my product. The cheap ass. You're the only one that said that, and you're just pissed because you didn't come up with the idea first, nor any of the other wrestlers in the business who thought to come up with their own merchandise line.
Let's not fight about each other's merchandise. Like I said, let's do the program today and catch up on all these emails from the listeners out there. And if you
all the emails.
Not all of them, but a selection of them. And if you can find it in your heart to somehow positively impact the discussion, the discourse here, the social interaction that we're having, where I'm trying to say to you, son, let's do. If not, if all you're going to do is just shit on something, then please refrain from getting involved in the discourse.
I don't recall shitting on one thing as of yet, but go ahead. The opportunity, I'm sure, will present itself.
All right. Well, Andrew has sent an email saying that
where's Andrew from? Where's Andrew? Before we even start, where's he from?
I'd say he doesn't specifically say where he's from. He mentioned something.
Coward. This is going to be negative. I can tell already. But go ahead.
Andrew just forwarded it on to us because we were talking last week about the goofball Republicans in the state of Kentucky. Well, there's actually a goofball Democrat in Wisconsin that I kind of like.
Wow. Never heard you say that before.
Democratic candidate for Wisconsin, Governor Brett Hulsey, had a plan to hand out white Ku Klux Klan-style hoods to Wisconsin Republicans as they gathered for their annual convention this past Friday night to highlight what he says are their racist policies. And apparently, this guy likes to do shit like that, and he's the Democrat running for governor. It's nice that we have one of the nuts on our side instead of all the nuts being on the other side. Because this guy also wanted to take a musket onto the state assembly floor to protest legalizing carrying concealed weapons. And he also, the hoods that he mentioned were also protesting the Republican policy to require photo IDs at the polls because that law was just struck down by the federal court Tuesday as unconstitutional. So he's actually getting things done. And he was also protesting cuts to public school funding. The Republicans wanted to cheat the little kiddies on an education. That's what I'm saying to you. So how can you find fault with a guy like that?
Well, first of all, you said something about showing the ID and they're trying to cause some interaction with the hoods. If they have their ID wearing their KKK hood, is that not legal documentation and a legal piece of identification to put forward? And would I be wrong on that?
No, yes, you would be wrong. You've completely torn several unrelated fucking pieces out of that story and put them together. That doesn't mean anything. No.
Okay, I think I got a related issue. Let's say Mil Mascaras gets pulled over in Mexico.
Oh,
when he hands his license, is he not wearing his mask?
Well, with Mascaras, I'm not really sure. I don't know.
Tiger Mask?
He'd have probably taken it off.
Mr. Wrestling too.
Let's move on. There's another.
I think three documented cases right there. But go ahead.
Steve Carter sent a message, and it's amazing because his last name is Carter, and he's talking
Probably
about
a peanut farmer.
That's who he's talking about. Thank you, McMahon. That's who he's talking about. Former president. Oh God. Steve was listening to the podcast we talked last week about the Georgia gun law, the guns everywhere law. Well, he says Democratic State Senator Jason Carter, Jimmy Carter's grandson, also voted for that gun law. He was in favor of people being able to carry guns everywhere. He voted for it in the state legislature, and Carter is the only Democratic opposition to the Republican Governor Norman Deal or whatever, Radford Deal or whatever his fucking name is, Governor Deal down in Georgia.
You can't remember enough last week. I meant last name was
Nathan Norman,
Deal,
whatever
the guy.
his name is.
Yeah.
Yes. The point is, Carter is running against Deal. He's the only Democratic opposition, and at the same time, he still voted for this nutty law, and he's a Democrat. And Steve also says that we should do some research about Deal here at the Experience because he also won't allow Medicaid expansion, and he is also, in Steve's words, a joke.
Are you for Medicaid expansion?
Steve loves his state. He just wishes we had someone down there with common sense running things, but they don't because it's Norman Deal, the governor of Georgia.
Well, I'd be happy to offer to help, but I'm busy here. But go ahead.
The answer to Medicaid, certainly to God, there's something we can cut before we cut, aid to poor and crippled and old people medically.
I'm going to go a bit off course here because I want your opinion on this. I just honestly want to know your opinion. I personally think taxes for being taken out of our paychecks should be totally done away with. Eliminate them.
You do.
The only way that we pay taxes is luxury taxes. Now, food is not a luxury. Everybody's got to have food. But let's say Jimmy Cornette wants a 25-inch television. And so, well, in this day and age, 32. You want a 32-inch. Well, the taxes on that TV are going to be substantially low. But let's say, Kenny Bolin over there in his side of town, he wants an 80-inch TV. Well, we tax the shit out of that TV, but because you don't really need an 80-inch TV. I just like having one. But if I want to have one, I pay the taxes. If I want that big, nice boat.
All right. Let me ask you. How about this? How about all of our tax, instead of paying taxes like you suggest we pay taxes?
Right.
How about some of our tax money plus some more of the government's money go into hiring people the unemployment problem over the past 6 years, since we've had Barack Obama as president, has gotten better slowly, but could have gotten better faster if the Republicans didn't want to fuck him on everything he tried to do, which one of the things was improving the infrastructure by hiring fucking people to work on improving our roads and our bridges and our public structures and putting those people to work, and then they would make money to spend in public so we would have a better economy, et cetera, et cetera. Why not just do it that way? Than the manner in which you speak? Why not have our taxes and some more of the government's money, because they've been charging us for a while, instead of spending it on fucking enough to blow the world up 18 times? Spend it on the people. Spend it on the country. Spend it on improving things. I'm improving the house around here, the castle. Why shouldn't they improve our bridges here in Louisville are falling down?
Which you should be taxed to death on. You're making my case for me. Those dollars are going to come, Jimmy, because America is full of rich, greedy, most case Republican bastards. And you claim you're not a Republican anymore, even though you seem to talk a different story. But I'm a man of the people. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I downsized my 3-bedroom multi-level home years ago and downscale to a 1-bedroom, a tiny 1-bedroom apartment.
When you stopped making a profit on renting rooms out to wrestling school students.
That was a good time to get out, exactly, and I did.
You're a slumlord and a flophouse owner, sir.
I beg to differ with that. I gave those people a lovely place to live with all the amenities. But you, on the other hand, see, and once again, you plead my case for me. I was housing 4, 5, 6 people, including my mother, providing a home for the lesser fortunate people of this planet. You, on the other hand, and you can get pissed if you want, you live in one of the biggest goddamn houses in Louisville, on the biggest hill on this side of East Louisville. And how many bedrooms you got, Jimmy? Do you want to tell the people, or do you want me?
It's none of your business how many bedrooms that I have in my home.
You got one big giant ass goddamn bedroom, and the last time I had measurements taken over there because I heard your health was bad and I thought I might be on the will, about a 25,000 square foot house, and you got 1 bedroom, and now you're having expansions and improvements done to this multi-million-dollar slab of concrete and wood and brick and mortar sitting over there on that hill, to where I'm over here and basically a $600 a month apartment given back to the people, feeding the hungry. I pulled over the other day and picked up one of them people with a sign and took them to Golden Corral and gave them some food. What did you do? You're adding on to your multi-level home over there that you and your wife live in. 2 people and a 25,000. I should be over there with 6 or 7 of my wrestlers, and you and your wife should be over here.
You're gonna have a stroke. Calm down. You
get me going on these things. You know how much I love the common man.
I apologize for your issues.
And woman.
Let's move on to the next email. Nicholas sent a very thought-provoking email. Thank you for entertaining the wrestling masses, Mr. Cornette. I just had something to say to your beliefs on gun control. Now, listen to what he's saying here. I believe that people should have the right to protect themselves and their family with any means they choose. Almost any time someone's life is threatened with somebody else with the gun, the police or anybody else is not going to be there for them. That was an unwieldy sentence, but we see where he's going. I know people probably email this to you all the time, but it is true. If someone is so fearful of other people that they need to take a gun everywhere they go to protect themselves, then that should be their right. See, I'm starting to...
Sounds like they agree with me.
If someone is so fearful of other people that they need to take a gun everywhere they go to protect themselves, then that should be their right. Also, if businesses allow someone to carry a gun into their store, then they should go to those places. That's
well written.
Guns will never cease to exist, so allowing some good Samaritan to walk around with a gun trying to protect everybody is a lot better than taking the guns out of good people's hands and only leaving them in the hands of people who don't respect law.
It sounds like you're reading a letter that totally agrees with me.
Remember, the government is just made up of regular people who are just as fucked up and self-serving as the masses, so please do not put all your faith in it. So here is what I'm being led to believe from this email.
Okay.
Allowing some good Samaritans to walk around with a gun trying to protect everybody is a lot better than taking the guns out of good people's hands and only leaving them in the hands of people who don't respect the law. Who do we appoint to be these Good Samaritans? How do you qualify to be a Good Samaritan? Who is interviewing and licensing the Good Samaritans that can walk around with a gun trying to protect everybody?
Well, one thing about it.
And wait a minute. And if you take the guns out of good people's hands and only leave them in the hands of people who don't respect the law, if you make it harder to obtain weapons, and especially harder to obtain weapons if we don't know who you are and what you have done in the past, then it helps taking them or it helps not leave them in the hands of people who don't respect the law. But the government, according to Nicholas, is made up of regular people who are just as fucked up and self-serving as the masses. So do we want any of these people with guns if they're fucked up and self-serving, or if someone is so fearful of other people that they need to take a gun everywhere they go to protect themselves?
Number one, I'm
worried about all of this.
I basically totally agree with everything that person said. But here you go. My son, as you know, Prince Bolin, just got back from Germany.
Yeah.
In Germany, you can't get your hands on a gun unless you are law enforcement. And even a lot of those do not have a gun. You were in England. How many guns did you see over there?
And also with Germany, because of things they've done in the past, it's probably a good idea to keep guns out of their equation for the most part. But look at us.
And somehow, in some way, they've done that. Chris said he never saw a gun the whole time he was over there unless it was on a law enforcement official. London, I think, much the same way. They beat people down with billy clubs. But yet over here, we have all these laws and all these things to protect the innocent and protect the Good Samaritans, as they say, but yet somehow the bad guys keep coming up with guns no matter what. So in that case, we have to make it to where the good guys, the Lucas McCains, the Hoss Cartwrights, the Matt Dillons, the Festuses, when those guys have guns, the shit changes. And you got to give yourself a fighting chance. And if we all have guns, and if the bad guy knows he's going to get shot back at, he's less likely to fire off that first shot.
Unless he just wants to just kill himself and it's suicide.
There was a case.
What happens.
There was a case recently where Grandpa shot his grandson because someone broke in the house in the middle of the night. He was in there trying to steal Grandpa's prescription drugs and whatever cash he had in his wallet. It was dark. Grandpa didn't recognize him, and he put about 4 slugs in his little grandson's chest. So be it. Little son of a bitch was trying to rip off his grandpa. Grandpa was armed, and Grandpa didn't get violated. And I'm all for that.
He was going to violate Grandpa also, or just take his pills?
Well, if he took his pills, he could have died. Is that not a violation?
They probably weren't that kind of pills, to be quite honest.
You don't know that they weren't. See, there you go assuming again. I don't
know why he'd be stealing fucking cancer treatments. But Germany,
Prince,
your son.
Hey, I got to call it. Prince, I'm on the phone. I'm doing the show with your Uncle Jimmy, and we're talking about you right now and gun control. I can't speak to you right now, but I'll call you back later. Have a great day at the place that you work at, and I'll get back with you later. I love you, son. You're the best, and I got to get back to the show. I love you, son.
He doesn't have a job.
Baby.
What are you?
He's got a job.
Are you trying to spread the disinformation that your no account lazy son lives on public assistance whenever he can?
What?
Job.
In the last 3 days, he's worked 2 16-hour days so he can earn the money to fly his fiance here from Erfurt, Germany. Yeah. He's the hardest working kid I know. When did you ever work a 16-hour day, Jimmy?
I've got an email here from Germany.
Okay, let's hear it.
Michael.
I'm a big celebrity over there.
Enjoys the podcast every week, and this was when we were talking about the bad weather. We had so much snow here, but he says we here in Germany had the hottest March and April since the beginning of recorded weather data. No rain. In southwest Germany since early March. This was at the end of April, actually, when he sent this out. No snow this winter, none. And he says, fuck those who deny climate change. Well, there aren't any here in Germany, as far as I know, because they actually in Europe understand what the fuck that we're doing.
Help me geographically. Help me geographically.
I can't because I'm in the middle of this.
Well, my son was in Erfurt, and they had snow and cold over there. So
it's a different.
I think this person lies.
Different part of the country. And Michael goes on to say, I once came to the conclusion that American politics are interesting to me because their way of discussion has more to do with a sports entertainment storyline than with real politics. But he says that the sneaky backdoor type of political decision-making has grown in Europe, and the Catholic Church has tried to gain political influence in Spain since they have an ultra-conservative government, so same old shit all over the world. And he would love to have a burger and a good discussion over here in Louisville, but the trip from Saarbrücken, Germany would cost him a fortune, so he sent the email.
Well, the burgers over here are a lot better.
The point is, it's another person from another part of the world chiming in that they have had unseasonable weather, that the climate is ridiculously different than it has been in the norm over the past decades. Just like we had all that snow and ice and the shit didn't bloom for an extra month here in Louisville.
I'm going to blow this out of the water because I see where you're going, but go ahead.
What I'm saying is we've fucked up the environment and the climate, and that's why all of these different
No, we haven't.
events are happening all over the world.
And I'm about to prove it to you.
All right, go ahead.
Tell me when you're ready.
All right. Tom Wills.
This is the biggest. Tom Wills comes to me for advice. This is going to be the biggest slap in the face. Even you are going to understand the point I'm making here. What is it they always say? Yesterday, near record temperatures in Louisville and broke records in parts of Louisville yesterday got up to 94 degrees, broke records. What is the one thing they always say when it says it broke a record? What follows that statement? It broke a record from 1872, from 1911, from 1956. Was the weather fucked up then? It broke a record from sometime, and the weather was just as fucked up in 1872 apparently as it was now. So in other words, shit happens at different times a year. Weather was fucked up in 1872. It was fucked up in 1972, and it'll be fucked up in 2072. We are doing nothing to change weather in this country or on this planet. We are blowing ourselves to think we even have the ability to do that. There used to be dinosaurs. Now there's not.
I'm going to just here. Hold on one second.
Weather.
Yeah. There's one flaw in your logic.
I'm dying to hear it.
The flaw in the logic is that if you'll go and you'll look up 5 or 6 of the last 10 years have broken records and been the hotter dates on record. It's not going back to 1874 or whatever anymore. It's getting progressively hotter, progressively more often in places where it didn't used to be. Conversely, in other parts of the planet, it's getting progressively colder in parts that it didn't used to be because of the differences that we're making in the environment and the air patterns and et cetera, sir. I invite you and suggest you should watch Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson on the Fox network. Seth MacFarlane is an executive producer, and you would understand some of these scientific facts that evade you as well as many of these mainstream crackpot Republicans, sir.
The average temperature of this planet, and I have done my research, the average temperature of this planet has gone up less than 1.5 degrees in the last 100 years. Do you really think?
You're taking that off of what source, sir?
NBC News. I don't listen to Fox News. Apparently you do.
I don't know if you listen to NBC.
That was NBC. That was on the Huntley Brinkley report.
You tape The View every goddamn...
and one of the most famous people in the world that I made famous, John Cena, was on The View yesterday. You laugh at me about being on The View. John Cena was on The View yesterday, selling his weight loss program.
I don't laugh at you for being on The View. I laugh at you for watching The View and cackling like an old woman when the rest of those cackling old women rip at each other.
That's how I probably get a lot of information off The View during Hot Topics. That's when I find out what's going on in the world, unlike you off your Fox News.
All right, let's change the subject. I have another email here from
Whoopi Goldberg's a genius, by the way, but go ahead.
Jonathan, who actually has been listening to the podcast when we talked last week about the goofball Matt Blevin that went to the cockfighting rally. The rally to legalize and support cockfighting, trying to get elected to run in Mitch McConnell's place.
I would like to say right now I'm in non-support of cockfighting. It sounds filthy to me.
Well, but Jonathan says, if there are politicians that, now think about this one. He presents a very good argument here.
Okay.
If there are politicians that want to legalize cockfighting, which would be a form of expanded gaming, how come that we in the state of Kentucky can't get casinos? I recently saw a Courier Journal article discussing the disproportionate representation in Frankfurt. About 25% of Kentucky's population is Baptist, yet 40% of state senators are Baptist. Add to that the
what's the percentage?
Wait a minute.
No, I want to hear the percentage again of what percentage of Kentucky's
25%
Baptist.
of the population is Baptist, 40% of the senators are Baptist. Follow along. And you add to that the Family Foundation of Kentucky's strong stance against expanded gaming, and we're drowning. People are going across the border to Indiana's casinos, so the laws clearly are not keeping people from gambling.
Yeah.
So I don't see why it can't be done on a county-by-county basis, just like alcohol laws. That way the counties overrun by Bible-thumping, holier-than-thou asshats can continue to not have casinos, while Louisville and any other city or county that feels the need for boosted revenue can have them. That's a very good point. Why the religious crowd and the family crowd can't have casinos where people can go and spend money and stimulate the economy?
That stimulates the economy. My brother is living proof that all it does is stimulate is the whore he's trying to pick up at the casino.
It stimulates somebody else's economy every time Biscuits and Gravy goes to a casino.
Biscuits and Gravy has been dirt poor and basically sitting out on street corners with signs begging for food his entire adult life because of his addiction to gambling. He is not Catholic. He is and was raised Baptist. His father was Baptist. And I don't understand how that happened, because the Catholics, from what I understand, are the gamblers and the drinkers. They're the ones buying all the alcohol and gambling away at all the bingo halls.
You have no evidence that Catholics drink and gamble. All that we know.
I certainly do.
All the evidence we know for sure is that many Catholics do abuse children, but we have no other evidence that they drink and do all that.
There is a lot of proof of that. I'll grant you that.
Well, I back it up. Proof that everywhere. I mean, you can't avoid it, but still.
Well, and the priests.
Here's what I'm asking you.
All right.
I'm also wondering, because Jonathan brings up a very good point. 40% of the lawmakers are strongly religious in Kentucky, but only 25% of the residents follow the same religion. Yeah. And these are people that are generally against legalizing casinos and gambling. I wonder what the difference is between the gambling crowd and the cockfighting crowd. I guarantee you that if you sit back and you did a survey of people in the crowd at a cockfight, more of them would believe in God than if you did a survey of the people in a casino. And more of them in the casino would believe in God than if you went probably and just searched the average, rock and roll show or something where normal people congregate.
I'm going to say that 99% of all people at a cockfight and 99.5% of all people in a casino believe in a form of God. You know how I know this?
How do you know this?
Every motherfucking one of them are praying to some form of source to let me win. Let this be the one that pays off. Asking for the invisible man for help.
There you have actually. You just stumbled across your nut, you blind squirrel. You've got one. That is a good response to a question.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. About time you was able to comprehend one of them. What else you got?
Everybody at both of those things would be praying somehow that they win while they're there. And
now I attend neither one. A fool and his money soon.
Oh, now you're walking back your personal participation in any form.
No, I'm not doing neither one of them. A fool and his money soon part. And ask any rising you happen to see, or especially any relative of mine, especially a guy named Biscuits and Gravy. Fool, money gone. Me, on the other hand, I'll never expose how much money I've got, because every fool I know would be wanting some of it.
Well, I have faith in you that you can pull that off. You've hidden your money from me for all these fucking decades.
I have. I hide from the fools.
Brian from New Orleans has written, love the podcast, in reference to the new Georgia gun laws. Now think about this, folks. In reference to the new Georgia gun laws, if guns are allowed in a bar, the punishment for having a gun and being over the legal limit of blood alcohol content should be no less than the punishment for driving over the legal limit. If it's illegal to drive a car while drunk, it should be illegal to carry a firearm while drunk. Now, what's the matter with that?
Well, Jimmy, you've watched Gunsmoke, right?
Oh, Jesus.
You've watched Gunsmoke, and the bartender there, Sam Malone, whatever his name was.
No, his
he
bartender,
had a
Malone was on Cheers. It was Glenn Strange who once played the Frankenstein monster in House of Frankenstein.
They never called him Glenn. They called him Sam, I'm pretty sure.
That's the actor's name. It was Sam the bartender on Gunsmoke.
He didn't even have a last name? Sam the bartender? That's all he got? He's on the show for 25 fucking years.
Took place in 1875. That's 140 years ago. Things have changed.
But the show ran for like 20 or 25 years. He never got a last name. Sam the bartender.
I'm not sure. It doesn't matter for this.
All I know is that I never saw him drink, and he had a gun to keep order in his bar. But everybody in there was drinking. Everybody in there had a gun. And very rarely, well, I can't say very rarely did anybody get shot and killed. But normally when one mouthy fuck mouthed off to another one got shot, and that's fair game. Each had a gun. Each were drinking. Each were drunk. That's as fair as the day is long. You can't argue with that. Right?
Brian, thank you for writing in.
And regardless of what Sam's last name was, he kept order. He had a rifle and he didn't drink.
Brian, that was something great.
He also didn't gamble. You saw the card playing and everything going in there. How many times did Festus lose his paycheck playing poker?
Quit on Gunsmoke. Brian, thank you. Thank you for writing it.
It's just documented. Fools and their money soon part. He drank and he gambled and he had no money.
Very good point that it should be, and I think that the state legislature should address that.
I made a good point, or the guy that just wrote you the letter?
The guy that
wrote. I thought you said I made 2 good points in a row. I was about to end the podcast right there. Just get out while the getting was good. But go ahead.
Oh my God! Never.
See, even you're praying to God right now. You're more religious than I thought.
In the debate and the ongoing discussion about the difference between pro wrestling and sports entertainment, Scott has written, the term pro wrestling is used by people who know it, love it, are passionate about it, and are proud to watch, enjoy, and discuss. The term sports entertainment is used by promoters to trick advertisers into sponsoring their weekly pro wrestling TV show. Thank you for your time, and look at who won the pony, Scott. That was also very succinct. That was a very good description.
Yeah, not even I can argue with anything that was said there. That's
Thank
3
God.
points in a row. Yeah. And once again, you praying to God again. Go ahead.
Oh Lord. Oh man.
Are you Catholic or Baptist?
I may become a Buddhist after this show is over with. I'm looking at the timing on the clock.
I wanted to rub my belly, but go ahead.
And by the way, what did you think of you still watch, or do you Raw?
Yes, I do. Well, because people ask me for my comments and views, and I do eventually.
Who asked you? Who asked you for your comments?
The masses, the fans, the minions, the Bolin minions that are out there. They all want to know my views because they know that I'm a right thinker when it comes to professional wrestling. They're as disgusted by Paul and TNA as I am.
I thought your followers, like I have the Cult of Cornette, I thought your followers, since you have the Bolin Alley, I thought they were the Pinheads.
No, the Bolin minions. There is a Pithead Jonestown out there. He has many of my ways of thinking. I hear he writes you all the time, and I hear that you never respond because he always points out how I slaughter you in these debates, and you won't answer him. Pithead Jonestown. You might want to answer.
I was thinking Pinhead because the bowling alley, because the pin setter. When they have the pins.
That ain't bad, but we kind of like the bowling minions.
All right. Well, anyway, so you watched Raw.
We here at the alley.
What's your impression on all this stuff going on? Because Cena got scared by the kid and lost a cage match at Extreme Rules, I guess. And what was the follow up to this?
Well, I'll tell you what I once said on an OVW television show that was going in the direction that I just couldn't believe it was going in. And I looked over at Dean Hill and I said, I didn't write this shit. And then I got up and went home. So that's really about the only answer I can give you.
I've done that a few times too. It just takes me longer to get home than it does you.
I lived a lot closer than you did.
Yeah,
easier ride for me.
So what was your opinion this week of the Monday Night Raw telecast?
Sadly, Jimmy, like I told you,
who's the stars? Who's the?
Sadly, I have not got around to watching Raw this week, other than the very opening. Supposedly, there was a bit with Kane, Daniel Bryan, and that the twin that he married, or is going to marry, or will marry, or has married on the reality show that John Cena is on with.
Then can you be any more specific about who that might be or who she is? Or
Daniel Bryan, one of the Bella twins. There's Bree.
You pay very little. You pay almost as little attention as I do to what's going on.
Almost. I just kind of see what's going on. I couldn't tell you Brie Bella from the other Bella, and I can't even think of the other Bella's name. All I know is they seem to be money grubbing whores who are trying to fuck the guys that are making the money. I could be wrong.
You're talking about that's their television characters? I don't know these.
No,
people.
no, I'm talking about real life.
What? No, you can't say that about these.
I can, and I did.
They're probably not
money grubbing whores who are fucking the top guys in the company. You don't see them. Who's that guy that got all that Twitter publicity? Woo woo woo. What's his name? The woo 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 guy.
Woo woo woo. What?
Yeah, there's a guy in there that went on Twitter to get more attention for himself, and all the Twitter followers got him popularity, and it was all false because really the real fans didn't give a shit about him. It was only the Twitter fans. Well, then eventually they realized he wasn't any good and he wasn't that entertaining, and he lost his spot. He was at OVW. He was one of the ones that stood up when what's his name? He was one of the black world champions, or he didn't get the title. Tony Atlas, and he was ripping CM Punk a new asshole, and this guy stood up and sided with CM Punk. And but I can't think. But he's the woo 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 guy. The fans out there, your fans and my fans will know who I'm talking about. Well, but okay. You don't see the Bella sluts, or I'm sorry, twins trying to date the bottom guys. They're dating the top two guys.
Just stop it. Just stop it. It's poor girls. We don't know these girls. They may be fine girls. You're watching this Total Divas stuff. I don't know what's going on.
I just called John Cena's potential wife a slut and a whore. I am so sorry. Right. I don't know her well enough to say that.
She might be the only person in the world that has fucked John Cena more than you have in your life.
Oh, come on. John Cena's making about $25 million a year, and you know how much I've seen of that with all I did for him. No one ever heard of John Cena before I managed him. And you think out of common decency, he would send me $2 million a year, $1 million to pay taxes with, the other $1 million to live on, and he'd still have a shitload of money left. No one heard of him before me. Vince McMahon didn't even want to use him. You weren't even sure if he. Well, I think I won you over eventually, and you said, "Yeah, the guy's." No,
I knew he was going to be a superstar from the first time I laid eyes on him.
And you say that now that he's a multi. You say that now that he's a multi.
Just stop talking over me. Just stop it. Stop talking over me. I'll let the people know what you did to John Cena. You latched your claws into him, and you soaked him for all the money that you could possibly drain out of a future superstar, and called in every favor that you could until finally they pried him from your clutches and used him on the WWF roster so that he could be a star and be free of your influence, sir.
He promised me 40% of his money from Manhunt on the UPN network. I felt I had a television star in the making, and I thought that I could reform and maybe alter some of his bad habits, which I don't think you could argue with the results, Jimmy. I think I did pretty good. Mark Henry was sent down here to die. He's still with the company. But, Bull Buchanan, he had many. Jimmy, everything they gave me turned to gold. How can you argue with my success? You don't think I'm entitled to a little of that money?
Let's talk about some classic pro wrestling, because I had an email from Aaron, who actually is contacting
Aaron the Idol Stevens. Is he right now?
No, contacting us from Australia. He says, I'm a media professional living in Sydney, Australia, as I cover professional cycling and triathlon.
That's what he covers.
Tour de France and Ironman for many global media networks. He's a columnist and contributor to Eurosport.
He covers bike riding.
For heaven's sake, he's a very important man. He moved to Sydney after the Hurricane Katrina and covered American football for almost 10 years. And
anyway, he went from football to bike riding?
He's a big fan of the podcast and his work with Eurosport, you moron. But anyway, that all being said, Aaron says, I'd like for you to talk about the infamous Road Warriors heel turn in New Orleans against the Midnight Express to take the World Tag Team titles. That was a great match, and the fans were genuinely upset. And it's funny, considering the Roadies had spiked Dusty Rhodes, nearly decapitated Sting, and the fans still cheered, yet it seemed like on television they were genuinely upset with the beating of the Midnight Express, going so far as to throw debris in the ring. That was an amazing time in wrestling's second golden age, and would love to hear your insights. And since you weren't there, you can allow me to tell it.
I'm glad you stole the words out of my mouth. I wasn't there, and I'm going to let you comment on this. I think you were there.
Well, yeah, I was there, and actually it was a great deal that Dusty had come up with because Tully and Arn had left to go to the WWF. We had won the World Tag Team Championship from them their last night in. This was in late '88 when Turner Broadcasting had just purchased World Championship Wrestling. So the Midnight Express were the World Tag Team Champions, and Dusty, to spark things up because business was down, the worst was yet to come with TBS not knowing how to run a wrestling company. But Dusty wanted to shoot a hot angle and turn the Road Warriors heel and put the belts on them to be the World Tag Team Champions and fight Sting and Luger and Dusty himself as the top babyface and all these heroes.
Hang on, did I just hear you say that you were the World Tag Team Champions and business was down?
Yeah,
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
We just had them for about a month at the time, see.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so in New Orleans, it was a double turn match where the fans came in thinking the Midnight Express were the heels somewhat, even though we had been wrestling against the Four Horsemen. And the Road Warriors were the big baby faces because they were the Road Warriors. But they came out and attacked us before the bell and posted Bobby, threw him headfirst into the ring post and knocked him unconscious. And they're double teaming Stan, and Stan's selling his ass off. And I'm trying to get Bobby to go back to the locker room for medical attention, but he's shoving me off and trying to get back up on the apron of the ring, even though they've fucked him up. And then
Bobby's a man's man. He wouldn't go back to the locker room.
Exactly. And because of this story that was being told, especially the fight that Bobby was putting up to get back in the corner, and then if he'd get back on the apron, they'd come over and kick him off flat of the floor on his face. And he fought to finally get up there, and when Stan finally got close enough to make the tag and Bobby came in and tried to fight those two big fuckers, the people were with him, and then, of course, one of them hit him from behind, and Ellering got me, and they used the belts over Bobby's head or whatever and knocked him out, and they won the belts, but the Midnight were put in a position to tell a story that they were the underdogs, that they were fighting against the odds, and they were somebody to be admired and or respected, even with the flunky manager on the on the floor at ringside. And that's the way you told stories, and that's why it was a double turn, because the people ended up 10 minutes later, they were booing the Road Warriors for the way that they had won the belts, and they were cheering us for the way that we had fought in losing them. And that was Wrestling 101, and nobody does it anymore because most people aren't as smart as Dusty Rhodes, and he actually stole some of that from Eddie Graham.
Might be one of the better things that ever happened in WCW, NWA, whatever you want to call them. But I still have a great love of the Mulkey story. If you don't tell it this week, I'd like to hear you tell that story on a future podcast.
How long's it been since I told the story to you? The ending may have changed.
It probably has. Uncle Huck, it probably has.
What story about the Mulkeys?
The one where you had to fight them in their hometown.
Oh, you're actually asking me to speak now.
Go right ahead. It's your show. I got nothing to say. Go ahead.
But Dusty had booked us when we were the Midnight Express were the United States Tag Team Champions, and I had mentioned, of course, Randy and Bill Mulkey took a classic ass whipping on TBS television on Saturdays, the Mulkey brothers, and I had made the offhand comment that summer of '86, Mulkey Mania is running wild.
You did.
And people started bringing the signs and everything, and the Mulkeys
ripped off Hogan.
Thank you. Took such a tremendous ass kicking that the people got behind them also, and it was brutal, brutal to behold, but more they'd get their ass kicked, the more people would like them. So finally, when we're the United States Tag Team Champions, Dusty has the idea to book the Midnight Express versus the Mulkey brothers in Anderson, South Carolina, the Mulkeys' hometown, at the old Rex
hometown.
That was set up for about 1,200 people and had almost 2,000 in it, or whatever the case. They were hanging from the rafters. Half of them were
the story you usually tell.
Yes, half of them were related to the Mulkey brothers, and
to each other.
And well, as a matter of fact, Randy Mulkey introduced me to his wife and his sister. The problem was there was only one woman standing there.
There was a reason for that.
But anyway, no, the Mulkeys were great kids, and we had this match in Anderson, and it was jam-packed, and we couldn't dare get heat on them because if we did and we started cheating, we were afraid people would have a riot. So basically, Bobby and Stan made Randy and Bill Mulkey beat them up so long that the Mulkeys blew up, beating up the Midnight Express. And then we got just a smidge of heat, and Randy made a comeback, and off we go. And it was a quick scoop the leg, 1, 2, 3 with the feet on the ropes, I believe. And then we rolled out and ran. We had our bags sitting at the back door.
If I remember correctly, you were not real fond of having to beat the Mulkeys in their hometown.
Oh, no, I told J.J. Dillon at the start of the thing, I said, "What, are you trying to get us killed?" So it was a very quick scoop.
And he may have been. You and JJ didn't always see eye to eye. He may have been setting you up for death.
He's a wonderful man. And we ran down the aisle. We grabbed our bags at the back door, and we jumped in the car, and we took off. Since that was the last match, the people, as we go around the corner of the front of the building, the people are flooding out the front door. It looked like they had pitchforks and torches. Go, where are they? Where are they? But we escaped alive, and they didn't break that record until they built a new arena in Anderson.
See, I tell that story a lot too, but you're right. The story does change a little bit, because when I tell the story, I told that you all were ordered to beat the Mulkeys and that you refused to do so, and that you pulled a Mulkey over on top of you, and they got the win, and that way y'all could leave with some peace and quiet.
Well, see,
I've changed the story.
A better story.
Well,
so you just have freedom to change my stories, is what you're saying?
Well, you do it enough. I figure, shit, whatever story I tell is probably going to be right somewhere you told it.
Stories? I don't change any of my own stories. You change everybody's stories.
Well, it makes it more interesting that way. That way you don't get bored listening to me. I mean, you ask me something, and the ending might change. DVDs have it all the time. Alternate endings. I just do it in real life.
I was bored.
Well, that ain't what you said before. Well, this is the alternate ending.
I was bored listening to you an hour ago. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, Alice Radley is in the hospital, and I hope
she dies.
I hope and pray that she gets out quickly, because I don't want to do this again. But for my co-host at Starmaker Bolin, right?
At Starmaker Bolin.
That's what I said in English.
And of course, backslash Starmaker Bolin on Facebook. That's the important place. That's where you can get all the merchandise at.
We'll forget.
And please, before you wrap me up here, please allow me to speak to the people for just 1 second. Your people. I don't get a chance to talk to them that often. As you all know, Jimmy makes every single dime that this show makes. It all goes into his back pockets. Guys, I get nothing. I don't get a penny. I don't get a complimentary meal. I get nothing.
Are you trying to leave for money?
No, well, just let me say what I got to say. I'm not going to ask you for money. I'm not going to ask you for help. I'm not going to ask you for donations. What I'm going to ask you to do is support me. As you know, I sell the Beats by Bolin headphones, the T-shirts, the mouse pads, the DVDs. There was a television show that I was a big star on for 19 years. I now sell those by the year. I can't mention the show for legal reasons, but I was on it. I was on it for 19 years, and I do sell them on my Facebook page from 1999 to 2008. That's the only ones that I legally feel I have the right to sell.
Feel?
Well, it's up for debate. Tim Dennison's working on it as we speak.
I
may not have to sue Vince McMahon. Let's just put it that way.
Don't let me
not. Yeah, no. And so here's what I want you to do. Don't send me money for the sake of sending me money. Go to my Facebook page, look up my headphones, T-shirts, DVDs, that show I used to be on, and just order something. I don't care whatever you'd like to have. The prices are all listed in my photo album. And or if you don't want my merchandise and you just want to help me out, just make a generous anywhere from $5 to $25 donation to where I can help keep my finger in the youth of America and help the kids, help the youth of America, and just make a $5 to $25 donation in my PayPal account. And Jimmy's got 71,000 followers. It's each of you just send the bare minimum, the $5 to my PayPal account. I will continue to do Jimmy's show and not even bitch about it. You got me locked in for life.
See, now you almost were headed up the right tree with that one until you took a drastic turn for the worse at the border.
What part was bad?
If you say send money and I will never come on this program again, I think you would stand to generate
93% of your fans will not send a dime. They won't send 1 red cent. You forget I'm the popular one in this show. You just happen to be the host of it. Ask Court Bauer if you have a show next week.
Well, Have you finished your shameless begging and pleading for money?
No, because you have to PayPal me at kennybolin@msn.com. That is the only way I can receive that money. And whatever help you can provide, guys. If you ain't got $5, just fucking quit listening to the show. If $5 makes that much of a difference to you, and if you don't feel the input that I put on this show is worth a measly $5, or for you to purchase one of my $29, $39, or $49 headphones, or one of my $19 shirts, or one of my $9 mouse pads.
We get the point. You want
the people want to know the prices, for crying out loud. How much is your book? I'll help you out. What's your book sell for?
You want small unmarked bills with non-sequential serial numbers, ladies and gentlemen.
I prefer it that way. How much is your book? I might want to order your book.
The folks can go to jimcornette.com and order my book if they'd like.
Oh, big fancy website, huh? I'm moving my merchandise on Facebook, and you got one of them big fancy cornette.coms. Okay, all right.
About
Man of the people in your big house.
Please follow Alice Radley. She's in the hospital.
I need to follow her because I hear she might not pull through.
I need her back worse than anybody does. At Alice Radley, I'm at.
Yeah, I know you need her back. I've seen her front.
This Jim Cornette Experience. Thank you, Star Maker. Until next.
Got a head like an iodine bottle.
It won't happen again next week. I promise you. Please listen. So long.
Don't make promises you can't keep, Jimmy. Don't make promises you can't keep.
Goodbye, cruel world.
Good day, everybody.
What is this? Is this a last word contest? I'm the host. I get to say good day. I'm
the co-host, and I invented good day. Fuck you. I'm good day. Don't you good day my fans. I said good day.
I said good day.
Good day.
Good day.
Day.
God damn it.